Pay close attention to what follows, as this knowledge will spare you from endless pain, doubt, and depleted vitality. After dedicating more than 10 years to understanding human behavior, relationship patterns, and ancient wisdom, I have identified 5 distinct statements men make. These statements are not just clues, they are direct windows into a man's character, and to disregard them is like hearing smoke detectors and choosing to stay inside. They represent subtle forms of emotional coercion masquerading as everyday dialogue, and once you recognize them, they will become impossible to ignore. Listen all the way through, because the final one is so discreet yet so profoundly destructive that 95% of women overlook it entirely, and it is arguably the most critical insight for safeguarding your spirit you will gain this year. Before we explore these 5 statements, you must internalize a fundamental truth that will permanently alter your perception of every male interaction. The majority of women have been socialized to offer the benefit of the doubt, to look for what could be instead of what is, to mend rather than to defend. This programming is so ingrained that our innate ability to sense emotional opportunists has been suppressed, and I use that term deliberately. Emotional opportunists who employ specific verbal strategies to probe your limits, devalue your standards, and make you doubt your own inherent value. The ancient Eastern principle of Xin Ling, or heart energy, teaches that spoken words are conduits of energy. When a person speaks, they do more than convey information. They are imprinting their own energetic signature, their hidden motives, and their degree of respect for you directly upon your own energy field. This explains why certain interactions can leave you feeling exhausted, bewildered, or self-critical, even if you can't logically identify the source of the discomfort. Your intuition was detecting the energetic frequency of manipulation while your rational mind attempted to explain it away. The insight I am about to offer is more than just guidance on romance. It's a method of spiritual self-preservation that will shield not only your heart, but the entire trajectory of your existence. Because this is the unspoken reality. The partner you select impacts far more than just your love life. His influence extends to your professional path, your social circle, your family dynamics, your self-concept, your economic stability, and even your physical wellness. A poor choice will lead to years of your life force being consumed by recovery from the resulting harm. A wise choice, or better still, the ability to recognize and disengage from the wrong partners immediately, will open up a space for something truly magnificent to flourish in your life. The initial statement that should be an immediate, non-negotiable deal-breaker is when a man asserts you're too emotional, or any of its cousins like you're overthinking it, or you're just being irrational. This line is emotional coercion at its most refined, crafted to make you invalidate your own grasp on reality. When a man labels your emotional experience as excessive, he isn't providing commentary on your emotional state. He is admitting his own incapacity to engage with a woman who is connected to her own power and communicates her inner world. The true dynamic at play when he utters this is a test. He's probing to see if you will silence your own inner wisdom to preserve his sense of ease. He's checking if you will dim your own light so he can feel more prominent. A man who genuinely values you does not brush your feelings aside. He seeks to understand them. He poses questions. He is present. He endeavors to grasp your viewpoint, even if it differs from his own. When a man suggests your innate emotional responses are flawed or too much, he is declaring that he prioritizes his comfort over your authentic selfhood. The most dangerous aspect of this phrase is how it sows a seed of self-invalidation that can metastasize over time. You find yourself second, guessing every feeling, every instinctual nudge, every intuitive flash. You start policing yourself relentlessly, asking if your reactions are inappropriate. This is precisely the aim of an emotional opportunist. He wants you detached from your internal compass, because that intuition is the very thing that can see through his agenda. Women subjected to this type of dismissal often spend years later trying to relearn the language of their own feelings. They have become estranged from their true emotional landscape because they've been conditioned to view their feelings as illegitimate. This is a form of spiritual erosion, and it happens in relationships constantly because we have accepted it as typical male behavior. But I am telling you now, conscious, mature men do not function this way. They know a woman's emotional range is not a flaw to be corrected, but a quality to be revered. The second statement that should make you flee is, "I'm only being truthful," or "I'm just giving you the facts," particularly when it follows a comment that is unkind, unprompted, or intentionally wounding. This statement is a manipulation tactic meant to package brutality as a form of integrity. When someone wields honesty like a blade, they are not being truthful. They are being harmful and attempting to frame you as ungrateful for the injury. Authentic truth-telling is rooted in a desire for connection and a sincere concern for the other's wellness. It is presented with grace, empathy, and an awareness of appropriate timing and setting. When a man says something deliberately damaging and then claims he was just being honest, he shows you he either has no capacity for empathy or he takes pleasure in your distress and wishes to blame you for feeling it. I've witnessed this tactic methodically dismantle a woman's sense of self. He will aim his critiques at your physical appearance, your mind, your aspirations, your connections, anything you hold dear. And should you voice that his remarks were hurtful, he will treat you like you are the issue for not valuing his honesty. This builds a mental cage where you're conditioned to believe that love involves absorbing harshness and that requesting kindness signals weakness or high maintenance. The reality is that a man who loves you will have a natural impulse to fortify you, not break you down. Of course, challenging discussions are a part of any real relationship, but they unfold with compassion, aimed at fortifying the connection, not at chipping away at your personhood. When someone consistently uses truthfulness as a shield for meanness, they are showing you they don't hold your best interests. Their goal is to establish power, not to foster true intimacy. What makes this so insidious is that our culture has trained us to value candor over compassion, so we often feel we must be thankful when someone is real with us, even if that reality feels like an emotional assault. But I want you to internalize this: you can and should expect both truth and tenderness. In fact, genuine honesty without kindness isn't honesty at all. It's simply brutality cloaked in righteousness. The third phrase that should set off every internal alarm is, "You are trying to control me," especially when it's his response to you stating a boundary, a need, or a worry about his actions. This is a classic tactic of reality distortion, engineered to make you fearful of speaking up for yourself within the relationship. When a man dismisses your valid requests by calling them controlling, he is conditioning you to stop asking for what you require. Let me be absolutely direct about the nature of boundaries. They are not forms of control, they are not ultimatums, and they are not penalties. Boundaries are you articulating what is necessary for you to feel secure, honored, and seen in a partnership. When you express things like, "I would appreciate a heads up if you are running late," or "The way you spoke to me earlier was uncomfortable for me," or "I need us to set aside focused time for each other," you are not being controlling. You are defining your needs with clarity. A man who retorts to your boundaries by accusing you of control is exposing a critical flaw in his character. He is stating that his convenience outweighs your emotional safety. He's showing that he sees your needs as burdens on his freedom, not as vital information for how to care for you. This is not the groundwork for a thriving relationship. It is the basis of a power dynamic where you progressively lose your identity trying to avoid being labeled as demanding. The outcome for women in these dynamics is devastating. They start minimizing their requirements, downplaying their own needs, and tolerating behaviors that conflict with their inner values because they have been led to believe that having needs makes them controlling. They may even begin to boast about being low maintenance, not grasping that they are systematically sacrificing their core identity to appease someone who doesn't prioritize their welfare. This is what you must understand. A man who is genuinely invested in you welcomes your boundaries because he desires to respect them. He knows that your boundaries are not constraints on the relationship. They are the very structure that allows mutual trust and closeness to grow. When you feel secure enough to state your needs without being shamed or ignored, you can fully relax into the partnership and be your truest, most giving self. The men who accuse you of control for having standards are the very same men who will exploit you in their absence. They seek full access to all you have to offer while giving the bare minimum back. They desire the perks of a partnership without the emotional labor required to genuinely cherish another person's heart. The fourth statement is one of the most discreet yet equally ruinous. "I'm not looking for a serious commitment," or "I don't see this going anywhere long term right now. But," and this is the critical part, he says this while acting in every way like you are his partner. He communicates with you incessantly, dedicates his free hours to you, brings you into his circle of friends and perhaps even family, discloses his deepest secrets, and nurtures all the emotional closeness of a serious bond while verbally maintaining that it isn't one. This phrase is a form of emotional exploitation framed as transparency, designed to let him enjoy all the privileges of a relationship with none of the responsibility that comes with truly committing to you. He gets to enjoy the intimacy, emotional support, physical connection, time, energy, and devotion you provide, all while retaining his exit strategy, free from guilt, because he can claim he was upfront from the start about his intentions. This is so destructive because it places you in a bind. If you accept the terms and stay, you are effectively consenting to be devalued and seen as provisional. If you ask for something more defined, he can reference his initial statement and make you look like you're breaking the agreement. If you leave, you might feel like you're abandoning something that could blossom into what you want if you just held on a little longer. But this is the crucial insight. When a man genuinely desires to be with you, truly be with you, there is no ambiguity. There is no "I'm not sure" or "let's just see." When a man sees your worth and wants to solidify his place in your story, he acts with certainty and purpose. The men who hold you in relational purgatory are not uncertain about their desires. They know precisely what they want, which is to keep you on call without the full investment of commitment. This dynamic is incredibly painful as it holds your heart hostage while chipping away at your belief in your own value. You start to internalize the idea that you aren't worthy of being chosen outright, that your value must be demonstrated by tolerating less than what you desire. You begin to view commitment as a prize to be won, not as something you inherently deserve. The most insidious aspect is that these men may truly have affection for you. They enjoy your presence, are physically drawn to you, and might even care for you in their own limited capacity. But they value their own freedom and options above your happiness and emotional security. They would prefer to keep you in a state of limbo rather than risk losing your presence by being fully honest about their lack of commitment. And now, we arrive at the fifth and most insidious statement, the one so subtle that most women don't identify it as manipulative until years later, when they are trying to piece their self-concept back together. That statement is, "You've changed," but it's delivered as a negative judgment. He says it with a tone of disappointment, an undertone of accusation, implying that the person you are evolving into is inferior to the person you were when he first knew you. This statement is spirit-breaking because it is crafted to compel you to abandon your own personal growth, your evolution, and your true self in order to revert to a version of you that was more compliant for him. When a man criticizes you for changing, he's admitting that he wasn't invested in the woman you were meant to become. He was attached to the version of you that best served his ego. Here is the underlying truth: you are evolving. You are becoming stronger, articulating boundaries, chasing your ambitions, speaking your truth, or simply growing into your confidence. And instead of applauding this evolution, instead of feeling honored to be a part of your journey, he feels destabilized by it. Why? Because the version of you he liked better was smaller, more predictable, more centered on his world and less on your own soul's calling. This phrase is uniquely devastating because it strikes at your core human need to be loved and accepted for who you are. When a significant person in your life suggests your evolution is a form of betrayal, it sparks an identity crisis. You're forced to weigh your own personal growth against the potential loss of his affection. You might wonder if you should contract back into a form that felt less threatening for him. I have seen women give up on their aspirations, their friendships, their careers, and their personal development because a partner made them feel their evolution was a selfish act. They cease going to therapy because he claims it's making them different. They neglect their passions because he preferred being the center of their universe. They soften their boundaries because he was more comfortable with the more accommodating version of them. But please understand this at the deepest level. A man who genuinely loves you does not just tolerate your growth. He celebrates it. He is thrilled to see you become more confident, more defined in your purpose, more attuned to what you desire. He understands your expansion doesn't threaten the bond, it nourishes it because you bring a richer, more authentic version of yourself to the connection. When a man penalizes you for changing, he is confessing that he preferred you when you were less than you are capable of being. He is admitting his affection was contingent on you remaining contained. This is not love. This is a desire for control. This is someone who wants to possess a version of you, not adore the entirety of you. The most tragic part is that women frequently internalize this statement as proof that they are the ones at fault, that they have failed the relationship by daring to grow. They feel guilt for becoming more themselves. They apologize for occupying more space, for holding clearer standards, for chasing their goals with greater passion. They begin to see their own evolution as an act of selfishness instead of the beautiful, natural unfolding of a conscious, vital human being. Now that you are aware of these 5 statements and their real meaning, you may be experiencing a whirlwind of feelings. Perhaps you are seeing patterns from your past with new clarity. Maybe a current relationship is now cast in a different light. You might feel anger that this wisdom was never shared with you, or immense gratitude that you are learning it now. Every one of those emotions is legitimate, and I encourage you to allow space for whatever is arising within you. But this is the critical point I need you to grasp. This wisdom is not intended to make you bitter about romance or mistrustful of every man. This is about cultivating discernment, the skill to differentiate between individuals who truly honor your well-being and those who are more concerned with what they can extract from you. This is about learning to honor your own intuition when a situation feels wrong, even if you lack the words to explain it. The truth is, there are men in this world who would never utter these phrases to you, because they know that love is built on creating emotional safety, not on pushing boundaries. There are men who value your sensitivity because they see it as emotional intelligence. There are men who share hard truths with profound kindness because your feelings matter to them. There are men who respect your standards because they know these standards create a foundation for deeper connection, not distance. There are men who choose you with clarity and excitement because they see your inherent worth. There are men who take joy in watching you evolve because they understand that your personal expansion enriches the relationship rather than jeopardizes it. These men are real, but you will never be able to see them if you are consumed with trying to justify the actions of men who do not see your value. You will never be a match for them if you are accepting treatment that contradicts your inner guidance. You will never create something beautiful with them if your vitality is being poured into trying to fix someone who has no desire to grow. This is what I want you to do with this knowledge. I want you to begin tuning into your body's feedback after you interact with the men in your life. Observe if you feel invigorated or depleted. Observe if you feel seen and cherished, or confused and lessened. Observe if you feel inspired to be more of who you are, or compelled to be less. Your body is the ultimate truth. Tell her your energetic state is never wrong. Start to believe your initial gut feelings instead of negotiating yourself out of them. If something seems misaligned in the early stages of getting to know someone, it almost certainly is. If you find yourself justifying someone's conduct or attempting to persuade yourself that his words had a different meaning, take note of that. If you see yourself altering your personality, ambitions, or principles to maintain someone else's comfort, that is critical data about the dynamic at play. Most crucially, I want you to understand that disengaging from people who don't see your value isn't an act of cruelty. It is an act of profound self-love. It's not a renunciation of love. It is creating the sacred space for genuine love to find you. Every minute invested in trying to teach someone your value is a minute stolen from a partner who would already know it. The person who is right for you will not ask you to diminish yourself, defend your worth, or be satisfied with scraps. The right person will recognize your worth instantly and act on that recognition. They won't need convincing to select you, because selecting you will feel like the most natural choice in the world. I want to share a concept that fundamentally shifted my view of relationships. Your standards are not high walls designed to keep love out. They are a homing beacon, invisible to those who are not on your frequency, but blindingly clear to the one who is. When you articulate clearly what you require to feel safe and cherished, you are not being difficult, you are being precise about the conditions that allow you to be your most radiant, giving, authentic self. The people who push back against your standards are not your people. The individuals who applaud your standards, who ask considered questions about how to respect them, who adjust their behavior because your well-being matters to them, these are the people who belong in your life. These are the people who grasp that love isn't about possessing someone, it's about creating a shared space where both individuals can thrive. Each time you uphold your own boundaries, you are instructing others on how to treat you. Each time you turn away from someone who belittles your needs, you are making a powerful declaration of your own worth that sends ripples into every part of your existence. Each time you prioritize your well-being over another's ease, you build a foundation for relationships rooted in mutual respect, not one-sided sacrifice. This is not about becoming hardened or shutting down. This is about becoming fiercely clear and intentional about who earns access to your energy, your time, your body, and your heart. This is about knowing that your love is a precious resource to be shared with those who recognize its immense value, not with those who treat it as a given. Here is the ultimate truth I want to leave you with, and it might be the most vital thing you absorb today. It is not your duty to rehabilitate those who cause you pain. It is not your responsibility to tutor people in the art of loving you correctly. It is not your obligation to remain in situations that dim your radiance because someone else is unwilling to claim their own power. Your purpose is not to be so compassionate, so tolerant, so forgiving that you erase yourself in the effort. Your purpose is not to love people into being their higher selves. Your purpose is to be wholly yourself, to honor your own needs, to trust your gut, and to build a life that is in full alignment with your deepest truths. The love you are seeking is also seeking you. But it can only find you when you stop accepting anything less than what you are worthy of. It can only see you when you are standing in the full light of your being, not when you are shrinking to be smaller, quieter, or more convenient for someone else. So the next time a man says one of these 5 things to you, I want you to recall this conversation. I want you to breathe deeply, trust the truth in your bones, and make a decision that reflects your inherent worth. Because you deserve a love that feels like liberation, not a love that feels like a cage. You deserve a love that applauds your evolution, not a love that resents it. You deserve a love that sees your sensitivity as a superpower, not as a liability. Walk away from anyone who causes you to doubt your value. Walk toward those who celebrate it. The woman you are becoming will be eternally grateful that you had the courage to choose yourself, even when it was frightening, even when it was difficult, even when it required leaving behind a potential that was never destined to be real. The right love will not demand you sacrifice yourself to earn it. The right love will feel like a profound homecoming to your own soul, not like abandoning yourself to find it. Trust this, choose this, and never again settle for anything less.